welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is me, Captain Logan, and bouncing around in his chair is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. That opening music was a little too loud. I don't think anybody heard anything I just said, but yeah, it's the same thing I always say. It's me, I'm here, DJ's bouncing around in his chair.
I was bouncing today, but everything else is the same.
Welcome, everybody. It feels like it's been a while since we've had a Captain Logan show because we didn't meet on Tuesday since it was Valentine's Day. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. If you celebrated with your significant other or family or otherwise, hope everybody had fun promoting a holiday that only exists for commercialism.
Well, most of them do. But it's your interpretation of it that matters.
Yeah, sure, but you know, most of us probably spent money with some company over it.
We had a pretty low key one this year. No money was spent, just time, but it was fun. But wow. Yeah, I'm ready to talk about some geeky stuff.
Yeah, no, it's there to waste your time. Yeah, we're gonna talk trailers tonight. We've got 3 Super Bowl trailers. One is just a 30-second spot. When I planned this out, I hadn't seen the Indiana Jones spot yet, and I thought it was longer than it was, so I don't have a lot to say about that, but that's in there. And there's some other news items that we might get to tonight if it's kind of quiet in the comments, or you guys feel free to bring up anything that's happened recently. We can talk about some of the stuff that Kevin Feige's been talking about the future of Marvel. There's some other things that have happened recently some announcements of movies and things, some kind of odd stuff here and there that we might get to tonight, or we might end up putting off until a show next week, assuming there is a show next week. Next Tuesday, DJ and I are going to be still meeting on Tuesday, but it's going to be a different show. We're going to be doing a special Superhero Rewind Unscripted about our favorite intro music to superhero animated series and cartoon shows, which I'm really excited to do. And I haven't quite put my list together yet, but I have too many ideas, DJ. I know I'm going to have a really hard time narrowing it down to 10. Jason and I were naming stuff off in the car the other day, and I was like, I'm up to like 14. How am I going to do this? So
well, you can do 10 and then just do 10 honorable mentions.
Yeah, I could probably do 10 honorable mentions, to be honest with you. But we've been talking about continuing our series on music in superhero movies and television, and so that's going to be the next installment of that. I think we're going to do at least 3 or 4 of these. DJ and I keep coming up with new premises for just music lists for superhero movies. And,
it's fun. It's a fun topic, and we don't talk about it very much. So
we don't talk about music enough on this channel in general.
Yeah, well, you got a whole podcast for it now.
Partly because, which I need to update, by the way. I'm so busy, I haven't even put the next episode of that up yet, and we've got one recorded. But quick plug for that, since he brought it up. I've got a new They Might Be Giants podcast on Spotify for the 3.5 of you that will care. Jason and I are doing that together, and he is a fountain of information when it comes to They Might Be Giants. It's ridiculous what Jason knows about that band, all the research he's done, and I'm a huge fan of them and have been forever. But I think Jason eclipsed me now. I think he knows more than I do, and he keeps bringing me tracks I didn't know about, and like demos and interesting things they did for television that I didn't know about. We discovered that they've done a little bit of stuff for video games that I didn't know about. They've got music DJ in The Sims, of all things. Like, we just keep finding stuff.
I never played The Sims. Do they have music in Zoo Tycoon? Maybe I've heard their Zoo Tycoon tracks.
It's entirely possible. Because I just keep finding them everywhere. But anyway, so that's going to be next Tuesday's show. So we're going to do that in lieu of a Captain Logan show. And then Thursday, we are going to attempt to have a regular show, but I'm going to be on the road. So I'll be doing that from a hotel room if that ends up happening. So I will give you more information when we get closer to that day. We're going to play it by ear, but that is the plan right now. And then quick plug for tomorrow night's show. Austin and I and Brandon and possibly Jason are all going to meet for another finally video game movie mania. I had to cancel it a couple of weeks ago because everybody in my house got sick. But we're finally going to be doing the original, so weird to say that now, Mario movie from the early 90s, and it'll be the second commentary I've had on that, DJ, but it is a video game movie that was released in the theaters, so we are going to do it, and Austin's never seen it, so he's going to do that blind, which will be, I'm sure, very amusing.
Getting his honest reactions. He's not a very emotional. I don't know, that's not the word I'm thinking of, but he doesn't react very much. But it'll still probably be fun to watch him react to that.
Nobody is sarcastic.
Yeah. He'll react verbally back to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll
there's
see it on
never
his
any
face.
shock and awe, but what there is riffing. And
Yeah.
he is quite good at that, so that'll be fun. Also, people are asking me about Quantum Mania, and I'm going to try to see that before Sunday if at all possible. But my family's out of town this weekend, and most of them, and I'm going to stay back with one of the twins, so it's going to be really difficult for me to get to the movie theater. I'm going to try to go tomorrow, if at all possible. I don't know yet. So that may not get reviewed this weekend. We may have to stave it off and do it next weekend, or I'm out of town that weekend too. I'm very busy right now. But I will review it in the not too distant future. That will happen. So I didn't watch the trailer from the Super Bowl for that movie because it's just about to come out. So I'm not going to talk about that tonight because that movie releases tonight and tomorrow. So some of you guys within the next few hours will see that. Some folks probably not here tonight are at that movie. So there's really no reason to talk about that trailer, I don't think. And I never like to watch the ones that come out like a week before the movie if I can help it.
Nah, all the true fans, true Geek Evolution fans are here tonight. Nobody would miss the Captain Logan show for a movie. Come on, Cap.
Well,
These are the
especially
true
for one
fans.
that everybody sounds really lukewarm on. At least a lot of people. I have not run into the person that's like, yeah, Quantumania. Even people that like the Ant-Man movies more than I do, and especially more than DJ does.
Are there people that like the Ant-Man movies?
Yeah, like a little bit more, I guess, but like nobody. I mean, my wife likes them, but nobody seems excited about this movie that I've talked to.
Well, if you, I imagine if you like the Ant-Man movies, this is everything you don't want in an Ant-Man movie because it's trying to like tie it into the big, huge, giant stakes of a Marvel universe movie, and you like the Ant-Man movies because they're small.
Well, that's what I like about at least that first one. That's the one big thing it has going for it is that it's real cinematic and has a lot of fun with size and perspective. But it's all about how that is a B-list superhero, and then suddenly they're building, massive bits of their lore over the next phase or several phases, starting on an Ant-Man movie. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really the right way to go with that. Like, I like how he's utilized in Endgame. Okay, where like he's really functional for that story and really important, but still feels like a small B-list superhero.
Mm-hmm. Well, I said we are going to, I guess we are going to talk about it a little bit at least.
But not the trailer. I didn't watch that.
That's
so
right.
anyway, if you would like to ask me about anything under the sun tonight within reason, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, which guarantees that we'll talk about your topic, idea, complaint, what have you. And if you do that, we really appreciate you. Thanks a lot for helping to support the channel. We've already got a few super chats, and I just want everybody to know that I never take that for granted. I really appreciate it. It helps me continue spurting things along here on the channel, doing this as close to full-time as humanly possible. And if you don't want to do that, can't do that, never fear, because we'll try to answer some pre-written questions as well in the regular comments, and make sure to direct those at DJ Martinez, because he reads all the questions. Although just before the show, DJ was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a nap tonight, and you just let me know, like just wake me up when there's a question. I'm like, well, what do I need you for?
You don't, and I'm hoping against hope that you never figure out that fact.
I'm not sure it was smart for you to point it out then. Yeah.
Well, you told me to go to sleep first. I was just
That's
reacting.
true. That's true. I didn't explain that entire pointless story where we were just joking at each other.
I have horrible poison ivy, everyone.
Whoa, that's awful. What happened? Did you meet her? Did you meet Poison Ivy?
Yeah. That was the Valentine's Day night. We had quite the night.
Oh my god.
It was worth it, but I got a lot of.
Is your wife? I didn't know Grace was Pamela Isley.
Well, she was there too.
Oh, you caught me so hard off guard with that, dude. That was amazing. That's a little risque for this show.
It is, but
I really enjoyed that.
Sometimes you got to push the boundaries.
But it was worth it. That was so good. I really enjoyed that. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into trailer talk. I'm going to do this kind of rapid fire, just give you a couple thoughts real quick about each of these. I don't plan to spend a lot of time on these. I guess I'll go ahead and start with Flash. We're not going to do reactions because I've already seen them, and I don't want to take up a lot of time of the show, and they tend to get flagged. So I will just briefly mention each of them and tell you how I'm feeling about it. DJ, I feel really funky about the Flash trailer, and there's a part of me that just doesn't even want to talk about it, but I'm getting a lot of questions about it, so I am gonna just kind of put a pin in it. And I always have a wait-and-see attitude about things, of course. I've been super lukewarm on The Flash in general for lots of reasons, as a lot of you guys know, and as a lot of people have been. Partly because of premise, with bringing in Michael Keaton to kind of create any sort of interest in a movie that Warner's doesn't seem to know if they can sell on Ezra Miller and on that version of The Flash. So, like, there was maybe I talked about this before. There was a teaser poster that came out recently that had the 89 bat symbol huge in the middle and the Flash logo real tiny underneath it. And that's everything you need to know about how they're selling this movie. And I don't know that it necessarily tells you what the movie's going to be like, because I don't know just how much screen time Michael Keaton is going to get. I think that 89 Batman is going to be instrumental to that story, and I think he'll absolutely be a supporting player. My prediction is he will get quite a bit more screen time even than the other two Spider-Men in No Way Home. And I don't think he'll be introduced at the 11th hour, or even by I think he'll be there mid to late second act. I don't think it'll even be, mostly just third act stuff. But it would be really funny if it was, because of the way they're selling it.
Yeah, that's the opposite lesson that they should have learned from Spider-Man, which is they didn't sell it on the Spider-Man at all, and then it was just such a big word of mouth thing. If you're selling it on all this stuff and he's only in it for the scenes that are in the trailer, that's gonna backfire.
Yeah. That'll be a big bummer for anybody that's excited about that. And of course, I want the story to be good. I don't want to sell these things just on nostalgia, but at the same time, DJ, I had a weird reaction to this thing, and you know what my worry is? I'm worried that I'm gonna have the BVS thing with this movie. I'm worried that there is a child inside of me that will not help to be giddy about seeing Keaton as 89 Batman again, even with all the things I'm resisting with this trailer, and there are several, certainly. He doesn't move like Keaton's Batman. It's all a CG fest with the action. I can't.
Is it like CG Yoda in the prequels where he's just flying around?
Yeah, it's bouncing around, and also I never wanted to see slow motion Keaton Batman, and that I've always hated the slow motion in the DCEU movies, starting with Snyder. I don't even like it in Wonder Woman, and I like that movie, but it irritates me when they have to stop everything and do kind of the Matrix turns. It's really egregious in Aquaman. Some people don't mind it. I don't like it, and I never wanted to see them do it to Keaton's Batman. And now he's moving like that in slow motion, and it's mostly CG, and there's this really awkward bit at the end of that trailer in the snow, which is made worse by the fact that it's in broad daylight. And that's the thing I most resist, I think, is Michael Keaton's Batman in frickin' broad daylight. I can't get excited about that. If you're gonna do that, because I'm jumping around, everybody's been talking about the still that they released with a bunch of modifications to a bunch of variations of bat suits. Have you seen this? Where it's a bunch of different 89 bat suits, and I keep getting messages from people about this. Cap, have you seen the blue and gray Keaton bat suit? It's the regular 89 bat suit with the changes they've made for this movie. I don't like the chest plate. It's too much like Batman Returns, and I've never liked what that looks like. But it looks pretty good in that color scheme, and like I said, people keep messaging me like this looks really cool. This is proving that you can do the blue and the gray in a movie, and it does, and I like it a lot. If you're gonna have Keaton in broad daylight, freaking use that costume. Don't do the all black suit if he's gonna be. And look, it's like I said, there's a child inside of me that is excited to see all the old iconography, even if I know I'm being hoodwinked a little bit, right? Where this is not going to feel at all like the same tone of the Keaton movies, the of why can't I think of people's names right now?
Burton,
Of Tim
Tim
Burton. Like it's not even trying. It seems like, and you know, you never know exactly because you haven't seen the movie. It's just a trailer. But I mean, I bet my car. It's not going to feel anything like that world. And Austin and I kind of had an argument today. So I guess what I mean is, it's hard not to like look at that iconography and go, yeah, this is my childhood. This is the reason I care about superheroes in the first place. I'm resisting that. I'm trying not to have those feelings, but I also kind of can't help it. And I know I'm going to be disappointed with the way it's utilized in the movie. So I'm like I'm trying not to let myself feel anything about any of that. But just seeing him in the outfit again, it was hard not to feel something, even though it's weird, even though it doesn't totally work. Like, I'm part of the reason I'm fumbling for words right now, I'm embarrassed about it. I'm really worried I'm going to go to that movie and I'm going to like it on first viewing and I'm not going to want to review it. This is one of those movies where I kind of wish I could just go and see it and let it wash over me and let myself have whatever experience I have with it and then start to dislike it if I watch it on repeat viewings and dislike it, but not have to like talk about it because it's going to be embarrassing, like BVS, I think. Like,
dude, I 100% support. I think you should have the ability to have that first reaction, even if it changes later. I don't think you should be ashamed of. I don't think you should have been ashamed of liking BVS. You had a great experience with it. You can never have that experience again. If you want to watch it again and have a different experience, that's fine too. But I don't know. I don't believe that people shouldn't be able to have an experience. I don't even believe that people, like, if you want to turn your brain off and have a fun night at the movies watching a dumb superhero movie, fine. I mean, you don't have, there's no obligation.
And I appreciate you saying that because that's, I guess what I mean is that's kind of what I wish I could do with this. And I'm never a turn my brain off guy, but I want to go back to 6 years old.
Yeah, you should. This is your movie that got you into Batman, into superheroes. Like, this is your thing.
And then after that, I'm gonna immediately when I start talking about it, I'm gonna recognize I'm seeing all the flaws in the trailer. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it does look a lot better than I expected it to. Even with the complaints I'm making about the action and stuff, like the Supergirl suit looks really good. Like she looks interesting. I think it's cool that they're actually taking some stuff from Flashpoint, because it seems like they're using her the way that they used Superman in Flashpoint, where she is like cordoned away by the government somewhere and she's being experimented on or whatever. And it's very strange with Zod and all of that Cavill is not in this movie. And I bet retroactively they've got to be thinking, oh, well, I kind of wish, you know, if we'd been able to see the future and we knew that Gunn was going to reboot the whole DCU, the whole franchise, we probably would have seen Cavill in this movie, because now, DJ, it's starting to look like a send-off film, which makes the whole 89 thing very strange. You know, it's sort of like, and you won't know about this, but it's sort of like the way Enterprise used the TNG crew to send itself off, where like the last episode of Enterprise has nothing to do with Enterprise. It's all about TNG, basically. And you're like, oh, this is lame. Like all the action from Enterprise that you see in that episode is on the holodeck in Next Generation. It's not even our characters. It's holograms of them all. And you're like, oh, this is really lame. That's kind of what it feels like with this a little bit, where it's like, let's use 89 to send off the DCEU. Which is not what it was for initially. This was supposed to like soft reboot and then spurn off the DCEU into another direction and let Michael Keaton be kind of the Nick Fury for the whole thing. And maybe one of the reasons that I'm feeling differently about it than I expected I would is just because the context around it with the rest of the continuity in the movies is different now, DJ. Like, there's nothing at stake anymore with this. It used to be, oh no, that movie is going to come out and now they're going to milk Michael Keaton for all he's worth. And it's going to be really weird. He's going to be in everything. And now it's like the last hurrah movie, which kind of makes going back to Zod and the Man of Steel stuff a little better in my mind, because now it's bookended. And it seems like it's kind of their end game. And like that's not what I would do necessarily, and I don't really want to just, it's weird. It's like we're going to play DCU's greatest hits at the same time as we're playing superhero movies' greatest hits, bringing back Keaton. Like, it's very strange, but I don't have I don't have the stake in it I did before because I don't have to watch all the crap that's going to come out after it.
Yeah.
You know, like if whether or not this is the honest to God real like a reboot for the DCU, or if there's, because like I think Waller is still going to basically take place in the DCEU. Like I think we're gonna still have some straddlers after the Flash before we get to Superman Legacy, but for all intents and purposes, this is kind of the last hurrah, and that makes it better to me.
It's very strange. It must be very much a Flash movie, right? Because why in the world would they call it the Flash? Why wouldn't they call it DC Endgame, Flashpoint, or Justice League Endgame, or whatever their equivalent of that is? Like, why are they? If they're going with the Flash, it must be a Flash movie with all these characters just kind of in it, right? It can't be just a DC everybody movie. I don't know. It seems weird that they're calling it the Flash, especially with all the problems with that actor.
Yeah. Well, it would have been difficult to rename it midstream, I guess. I mean, they could have.
They did it with Birds of Prey, like last minute.
Did they? No, that was always called that.
Well, they changed the name after it came out. They changed it to a shorter version because everyone was being confused by the ridiculously long name.
No, the long name was still there. It was just a kind of a tiny subtitle, but it was still in there.
Yeah, I can't remember what the article was about that, but
okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking
name.
about because we had that name from real early. Like there was a picture of the script that it had that name, and then when it came out, that's like when you look at the box of the Blu-ray, that's it has that.
Yeah. It may have just been theaters changing it so people could read it on their marquees, but yeah.
Well, it doesn't surprise me they didn't put it on a marquee. How would you? But a lot of long titles get shortened like that on a marquee.
Yeah, it would have been called The Fantab.
I thought so. The problem is this movie keeps getting put off, and it basically got made and got put in a drawer for a couple of years. I don't know how long this movie has actually been totally done and in the can, although we know that they've been having a futz with it recently because of James Gunn's plans for the future, and we had that report that, this is not at all a surprise, I think it's hardly news, but we had that report that all the setup stuff for Keaton being in the DCEU after this was axed out at the end of the movie. Well, of course it is, because they're not doing that now, so you'd have to. But I always thought it should have been called Flashpoint. Like, years ago, when we first heard that they were talking about adapting Flashpoint and trying to use that to soft reboot the DCEU, I don't know if some of you guys remember just how far back this goes, but, like, this has been the premise for the Flash movie for, like, 5 years, 6 years, like a really long time. It's kind of nuts how long this has been around, and I never understood why it wasn't just called Flashpoint, because it was never really a Flash movie. It's almost like, DJ, they slated a Flash movie at the same time as they had all the other things that they announced with their slate after Man of Steel, right? And remember, there was supposed to be a Cyborg movie, so Aquaman actually happened, Shazam actually happened, Cyborg doesn't. Flash was always in there, but kept getting put off, getting put off. You remember the sheer number of directors they went through? It's like they kept changing them. They're like,
yeah.
There were like 50 directors on this movie. I don't know if it was that many, but it was a lot. They just kept going through them. And it was like, dark arts teachers at Hogwarts. They just kept going through them. And it was always called The Flash. And I don't understand that. It shouldn't have been. But anyway, to your point, I think they probably have made it as much of a Flash character piece within this premise as they can, at least as much as, and you're going to groan when I say this, and I'm with you to some degree, but at least as much as No Way Home was more about that that version of Spider-Man than the other two that were in it. But
yeah, of course.
And also, like, there's two of them, and so not only do we have to watch Ezra Miller, who I've never really cared for as an actor, and it's like I don't like to let things happening in real life affect my appreciation of a movie too much, but it's hard not to like him less after when I didn't even like him in the first place. You know what I mean? After hearing some of the crazy stuff that he seems to have done, and I don't know, I have a tough time with child endangerment and all of that. So everything about this is just like awkward, and this is a word we use too much, but it's cringe-inducing. And
yeah, it's hard for any amount of backstory to make me feel sorry for someone who grabs a woman by the throat and says, "You want to fight?" and slams her on the ground. Like, I don't know what the context was, but
yeah.
so weird.
And I don't know everything, and I don't mean to be judgmental, but this doesn't look like a guy that's made a lot of good choices in the last couple of years. And I'm having a difficult time not seeing that a little bit with him because I didn't like him in the first place. You know, if it was, this is a weird comparison. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but like, when you get an actor like Kevin Spacey, who I admired as an actor, not obviously as a person at this point with life choices he made, but going back to certain movies of his that I liked before, I might be able to do and forget at least to some degree that it's Spacey just because he's a good actor. I don't even like this guy's acting. He always took me out. I never thought he was good for The Flash. So I don't know. It makes it harder, and like, that guy shouldn't be a role model for children, you know, that kind of thing. And so the nice thing is this is going to come out, and it looks like it's going to do big guns. They're marketing it right. If they have to put this in the theater, and there's a part of me that kind of wishes that it wasn't happening, but I'm also too curious, you know, and again, the trailer looked better than I expected it to. So I don't know. It's just, the whole thing is really super awkward. And I have, obviously, very, very mixed feelings about the whole thing. But I will say, you know, some people are, there's like mixed reactions to our first look at Keaton in the suit and his line delivery and all of that. I'm thinking that there's a chance that he's going to look a little bit confused about what movie he's even in. I'm a little bit worried about that. But it was, the Batcave looks really cool. They're finding a way to get I'm Batman in there. Worked fine, I think, for that. I get people kind of making fun of it, but it didn't bother me. If he really does say, like, you want to get nuts and all of that, like it looks like he's probably going to be in that movie, that's going to irk me, because there's no reason he would necessarily go back and say that again. You know, that kind of thing. But, you know, I'm Batman is iconic, but it's also a thing every Batman says, so it, like, I get him saying that. That's fine. But again, tonally, it just doesn't look anything like Burton. And I meant to say this earlier. So Austin and I had an argument earlier about whether this is actually really technically Tim Burton's Batman, because he thinks that what's happened is it's like the Flashpoint universe in comics, where everything is like retooled from the universe we're in, and somehow like Ben Affleck's Batman turns into Tim Burton's Batman. I don't think that's what we're doing. I would eat my hat if that's what they did. That seems kind of crazy to me. I think because he has a line, and Austin's not here to defend himself. I invited him on the show, but he's working. But he has a line where he says, you can go to, you know, I think we'd heard this before in the teaser, but he says, you know, you can go to other timelines even. Why do you care about protecting this one? And I'm assuming that he grabbed that he grabbed Keaton's Batman from another timeline, or he's just in that one at that point. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think there's a Flashpoint universe and also separate universes he goes to. I'll be really surprised if that's not what they're doing. And I hope so. Although if not, it would be at least an explanation as to why he's, you know, it's totally different, and why he's acting a little bit differently than he was in '89. But anyway, I don't know. That's real scatterbrained. Like I said, I feel a little bit embarrassed just talking about this whole thing because I'm afraid I'm gonna like it.
Don't be afraid. Just
like,
embrace it.
Despite myself.
Just have a good time, man.
Everybody in my circles is making fun of it like crazy, and there's some silly stuff in it, but I'm not in that headspace. I don't know. Like I was kind of surprised by it. Except I don't like the slow motion stuff, and I don't like the way he's moving. But like the Batwing looks good. It was cool to see him with the Batarang again and all that. And I don't know. I hate to be that, like, you know, hoodwinked consumer. Like, oh, you're showing me things I recognize.
Hey, whatever. Just have a good time. Don't worry. I know it can be a bummer when you're in a group and everyone's trashing something that you really like.
Yeah. Well, but I'm not saying I really like it. That's the thing. Plushie
That you're
DX
excited
says
for, excuse me.
the slogan is "Worlds Collide." Yeah, exactly. But is it literally worlds, or is it 89 was a different movie? And now you see what I'm saying? Now we're putting it with the DCEU. I don't know.
And all the people that say that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is the first MCU movie will now say that 89 Batman is the first DCEU movie.
Why did you have to say that out loud?
All right, shall we get to some super chats?
Well, I got a couple other trailers I got to talk about real quick. So,
Okay.
real quick, there was a 30-second spot for Indiana Jones. I don't really have anything to say about that, except I want to echo what Austin said to me. And he's a huge Indiana Jones fan, and I'm not, so I don't have a lot of a dog in this. And I don't remember those movies well enough to really weigh in too much. But he said, hey, this movie looks better. And then he said, oh, but I think it's just because all they showed in those 30 seconds were action, and I didn't have to worry about any story or thematic stuff.
30 seconds, man.
The airplane stuff looks pretty cool. It's all still a little too CGI infested, and I was hoping that it would be a lot more of a practical piece. And it looks as modern and made in a computer as the last one, which is kind of sad. Does it look better than Crystal Skull as far as in the visual department? Yeah, I think it does. But it also just looks kind of artificial, and that's kind of sad. But there's more of a, I don't know, the more I'm seeing from it, the more of kind of an adventurous and old school flavor I'm getting from it. So I don't know, like it might be cool. It's still not what I wish they were making, me personally. But again, I don't care enough about Indiana Jones to probably be allowed to have an opinion about this. So
yeah, I did. This all the trailers that I put in the thumbnail that we're talking about, this is the one that I might see.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like peripherally interested in Indiana Jones. Like, it's a cool genre, but I don't love the movies that much. I like Last Crusade, but like, yeah, I'm just like you. I've seen them once and I enjoyed them, and so I'll watch this one maybe if I hear good things about it. I'm hoping I enjoy it. I don't know. It could go either way with that director, because I really like Logan, but I really don't like the Wolverine. I hope it's less the Wolverine, but I don't want it to be Logan either. I want it to be somewhere in the middle. I want it to be fun still.
Yeah, and see, I actually wanted it to be Logan, but a little bit more fun than that, and that's not what we're getting. So, oh well. And then the Guardians 3 trailer, I don't have a ton to say about either, except it's neat to finally get a glimpse of. God, I just can't think of people's names today. I don't know. I got a lot going on. I'm real scatterbrained right now. But Adam Warlock. That's cool, and the action looks fun, and I think I don't know why they're doing this, but I like that there's a shot where the Guardians all jump into space, and they look like they're wearing Power Ranger suits. Like they're all different colors, and like I don't know why, but they're like orange and red and green. It's like, oh look, it's a Power Rangers team. So it'd be a weird set of colors for Power Rangers, but yeah, that's fun. I'm still a little bit worried that it could wax a little too sappy just because it's the last movie and it's like, tear-jerking farewell. And given that they're like, I get doing that if you can pull it off. I just hope he pulls it off. I hope he makes me feel something about that. The villain looks really interesting. Who's I think the guy who creates Rocket Raccoon, and he has a ideology where he says he's just trying to improve the world. I like Rocket's line there where he says he just doesn't like the world the way it is. So I'm really interested to see where he's coming from and why he is that way. But that guy looks real cold and emotionless and interesting. And then the main reservation I have, besides this could get a little bit too sappy, a little trying too hard, the tear-jerking department, is just the reservation I had with Endgame in the first place, the story being too much about Gamora from the past and Star-Lord trying to get back together with her again. I'm worried that romance or lack thereof could be really tedious, and it's just such a kind of TV thing, the one step forward, two steps back, where like she finally professes her love for him and then dies, and now she's back, but she doesn't remember any of that because it didn't happen for her. I'm hoping that he takes that he nips that very quickly, because he's playing it like that's going to be a huge part of the movie, and then there's a hint that he might be going after Nebula instead, and that could work. So I don't know, but I guess we'll see.
That's just a bummer because of the continuity of the whole series. Like for the sake of the movie, you kind of want that to be resolved like before it really gets going. You kind of want that already to have been solved just so we can have a movie. We don't have to see that again.
It doesn't look like it's going to be. Yeah. Mutale says, oh, is that supposed to be the High Evolutionary? I've been intentionally not looking too much about behind the scenes stuff with that movie, because I was really happy that I got surprised by Ego in Guardians 2. Like, I knew Ego was in it, but I didn't realize that he was supposed to be Star-Lord's dad, or that he was going to be the bad guy ultimately. So I liked being surprised by that. So I know there will be some kind of big, surprise twist with this, and I don't want to have too much of an indication of it to where I can guess at it when we go in that. But anyway, that's certainly one of the superhero movies I'm most looking forward to this year. And I'm very intrigued by what exactly the Flash ends up being. So, like, suddenly that's up there just I'm too curious about it. I don't know. Like, it's probably going to ultimately be terrible, but I think I might have a really good first watch with it. And then real quick, I want to mention a trailer that just came out this morning. And thanks to Tom for bringing this to my attention. I got to watch it an hour after it came out. But there's a movie coming out, DJ, on a platform that only you talk about, and it's Apple TV.
What?
Yeah, and I for a second I thought it was a joke, and I couldn't believe it existed. And yeah, they're making this, and Edgerton is the main character of all people. They're making a movie that's a biopic about the making of and marketing of Tetris, called Tetris.
Ooh.
And it's got a neat trailer, and I'm kind of excited about it, DJ. It looks really over the top and heightened and almost like a joke in its way. Like, simultaneously, it looks like they're getting a lot of the history right, but then they're maybe going to go to the nines with the Soviet stuff, because not to give you too much of a history lesson about this, and I would recommend, because I know about the history of Tetris, I would recommend you go back to the fantastic, I think it's a full hour documentary that the Video Game Historian did on Tetris, and watch that. There is a story there. So if you're thinking that sounds really boring, it's not. It's really interesting, because the Soviets got their hands on the game because the guy who made it was working for the state and made it on state hours, so it technically belonged to them. And the way everything was working in Soviet Russia at the time, and he didn't have the rights to his own game, and so there's a guy in America that tries to get the rights to it and has to deal directly with Soviet Russia, and there's a couple of touch and go moments where he's in Russia and doesn't know if he's going to make it back home, and it's really interesting, but I don't think anything like as exciting action took place in the real world as seems to be happening in that trailer, because it looks like he gets thrown into a gulag and straight up beaten up or tortured. And now it just looks like the Elvis version of Tetris.
That's amazing.
And then they had the audacity after showing that and like the production values look really good. So like I said, it's weird because it seems like they're getting a lot of the history right, but I think they might be intentionally doing almost did I say this? Almost like a Weird Al thing with it, where like it's gonna start from a particular place and then just go really, really far. They have the audacity in titles on the screen to say that this is a story you couldn't make up. I'm like, it looks like you made up some of it.
That sounds great. That's awesome.
Anyway.
Based on a true story. Sorry, I'm watching the trailer now. Shall we go on to what the people want to talk about?
Yes.
All right.
That sounds great.
We got quite a few super chats. Thanks, guys. First one's from Goofster123, $5. With Ant-Man v MODOK, Dawn of Kang, Marvel has finally reached DC's level. Excited for your thoughts, Cap.
Well, at least they didn't call it that. I mean, really, like,
that's right. You can't make fun. You can't even make fun of DC because they just did it. Like they just called it that. You can't even make a better joke. The name is actually the joke.
No, when that title dropped, I made a 10-minute video just ripping the title to shreds and talking about how it sounds like a direct-to-video animated movie.
Ant-Man v. MODOK, Dawn of Kang.
Yeah, so, but when he says we've reached DC levels with Marvel, does he just mean in, like, the ridiculousness of throwing all of that together in one movie, or like trying to make too big of a deal out of continuity? I'm just wondering what exactly he means by that, because a lot of the reviews I'm seeing with Quantumania are, I mean, not that I'm looking at a ton, but I just keep seeing titles of reviews, and it seems like the main thing people are complaining about is it's just a setup movie for the next several movies or several phases, and it sounds like a lot of fatigue from people that just are not invested in the MCU, whether they were in the first place or not, where it's like, it's a lot of kind of bitter, okay, so these movies have taken over cinema, and I have to sit through a movie that's just beating me over the head with how I'm never going to be able to get around to seeing these movies if I'm going to review films. But, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of lukewarm reactions to it, and it seems like a lot of people who were real excited with MCU are not excited about this, and I don't know if it's because it's an Ant-Man movie, or because their plan with Kang has kind of backfired, where, like, they can't get people as excited about that as with Thanos, maybe partly because it was introduced in a show that not enough people stuck with until the end to get to Kang. I don't know how many people are even understanding, like, that this is supposed to be the setup for huge multiverse stuff and that Kang, like, really matters, or, like, maybe the fact that it is an Ant-Man movie is confusing people with the, quote-unquote importance of it, DJ, where it's like, Kang, like, people that don't know who Kang is, well, that can't be an important villain, he's in an Ant-Man movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen the last 3 or 4 or 3. I haven't seen MCU movies in a while. Have they been doing, like, after credits with Kang at all? Or
no,
nothing. It's
Loki. It's just Loki. I think there might be one, I can't remember, but it's not like Thanos where there's been a build-up with actual movies, and there's got to be a disconnect with people that are actually paying attention to the Disney Plus shows and people that aren't. But they've lost a ridiculous amount of money. We talked about this in the last quarter and over the last year with Disney Plus. So I'd love to know just how many viewers they actually had for some of those shows. And stuck it out till the end. Because I was talking, this is another thing I talked to Austin about, and he was like, well, Loki was did he say their highest or their second highest viewed show initially? But I don't know how many people stuck it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. I watched the first episode. Let me see what we got here.
Mutali's saying people are liking Kang in that movie, so I guess that's good, because that seems
good
to be the big selling point.
Yeah, he was talking about this earlier. He said that the Ant-Man and the Wasp has 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, and he doesn't understand how it's higher than this one. Is it just that people were so excited about the MCU at that point that all the movies were just averaging higher, and now people care less? So
kind of
quality.
Losing interest.
Yeah, I don't know how that. Because that's not very reminiscent of, or that's not very indicative of quality. I don't think. I think it's just people were just pumped about anything that was happening in the MCU. They were excited to go see one, and now after Phase 4, people are a little less excited. So.
Well, and that comes out between the last 2 Avengers movies. Everybody's on this huge high after the snap. And we don't have that right now. And I'm going to double down on a thing that I've said a lot that some people disagree with, but this is just how I feel about it. Endgame, the way that whole thing was handled was a huge misstep for the continued success of MCU if you... especially if you're going to oversaturate right after. I mean, I think the big 2 mistakes they made with Phase 4 were ending the previous phase with a movie that has end in the title, and getting rid of your like biggest heavy hitter characters that were keeping people interested in, like, it just looked like it was all over. And even people knowing like Marvel will continue after this, there wasn't enough for some people to, you know, hook their mitts into. And then the second thing was, and then like oversaturating like crazy, and in my mind not making it clear enough to people like what things really mattered and which ones didn't, because you spent over a decade like programming viewers to watch everything. Even though there were some movies that you could get away with not seeing that weren't as important to the overarching story with Thanos and the Infinity Stones and all of that, and even though some of that didn't even keep its own continuity all that straight, like they convinced people that their plan was more solid than it really was even. Most people that were into Marvel did watch everything. And even when we got to like 3 movies a year, they still felt like they could keep up with all of it. And so, like you said, even when you had movies that felt a little bit more, you know, throwaway, a little bit more superfluous, well, it's got an after-credit scene that's about the Thanos snap, so it feels like it matters. You know what I mean? With that second Ant-Man movie. Now, people are... I think some people still feel like they think they're supposed to watch everything and there's too much of it. And MCU has actually done an okay job, I think. They just haven't made it clear enough which ones, of making a lot of different things a little bit more for different people than they had before. I will give them that. Some of it's still to you know, MCU formula, but like they've had, you know, the specials on Disney Plus, and they've had, which, you know, this didn't perform as well as they wanted, but they had Eternals, and like there have been some different things that are that feel like they're kind of for different audiences. Like Moon Knight is not for everybody. Like, you don't necessarily have to watch everything, but I don't think the memo came out to people. I think a lot of people that were really into the MCU before are like, well, if I got to keep up with all of this, I got better things to do. It's too much of a commitment. And so I think they really shot themselves in the foot with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know how do you advertise that? It's like, do you just have in each trailer say this one counts, Doctor Strange counts, it's important, guys, come see this one. But Eternals was fun. I don't know, that's really hard to figure out marketing for that, so I understand the struggle there. J Forever King gives it $5. I think it's hilarious that MK Batman can do Arkham Asylum moves but still can't turn his head. This movie is gonna rock. Not really.
My favorite thing is that you said MK Batman, and immediately I went to Mortal Kombat.
That's what I went to too.
And then you said Arkham-like moves. It's like Mortal Kombat Batman can do Arkham-like moves. No, it just never occurred to me that MK can stand for Michael Keaton or Mortal Kombat. Yes, it's hilarious, and I guarantee you there will be a joke about it in the movie, right? They'll be irritatingly self-aware about that.
But how he can't turn his head.
Dark Knight got away with it. Like, they made it a plot point. You know? Like, that didn't feel too tongue-in-cheek when Fox was like, oh, you want to be able to turn your head. Like, that felt like they were kind of making fun of the history of the Batman suit. Even up through Begins, he couldn't turn his head. But then in making it like a plot point where it's about the evolution of that suit, like, oh yeah, we should fix this. There's got to be a way to make that work. That was kind of clever about it.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe this will be clever too.
Maybe he just will turn his head. I wasn't really watching for that in the trailer, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't need
if
that.
he can or not. But...
I don't need them to make reference to it. Like, just he has a billion bat suits. He eventually at some point learned how to make it where he could turn his head. It's not a big deal.
I should also mention that I thought for a second there was a de-aging thing happening with him, and then we saw because you can't really tell in the mask like what age he's supposed to be, but it looks like he really is 60-something-year-old Bruce Wayne, because there was a picture that I saw today, a screenshot of just Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and I don't think it was just like a set photo. I think it was supposed to be like a production still, and he's got white hair, and he just looks like, you know, current Michael Keaton. And I'm like, So why couldn't we have just gotten him as like elderly Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond or something? Like, and I've said this before, but in case we've got a big crowd tonight, in case you haven't heard me talk about this before, I never disliked the idea of Michael Keaton coming back for a Batman movie. I didn't need sequels to 89 or for him to play that version again. And usually I don't like this. Like I'm a total hypocrite when it comes to this. Usually I want characters to remain in whatever continuity they are. I don't know how I feel about like Tom Welling coming back, but not playing that Clark Kent or particularly Rosenbaum. Like, a lot of people want Rosenbaum to play Lex now, and I'm like, I'm on the fence about it. I don't know how I feel about it. Michael Keaton, I don't know why. I always liked the idea that decades later he would come back and do a different version of Batman. And I think it's just because, and no offense to Rosenbaum or anybody, because I think he's a wonderful actor. Keaton doesn't do a lot of sequels, and he gives kind of a different performance every time regardless, and I think we're going to see that with this too. So like what he's doing in 89 and Returns feel like almost different characters to me. It's kind of silly, and he's just, you know, being a lot older and being in such a different place in his life. It'd be really cool to see him play it again, but not the 89 version. And the only way I would have been intrigued by that would have maybe been if Tim Burton came back, but then he hasn't made a lot of good movies in the last few decades, couple decades, so that would have been odd also. And I realized that people really like Wednesday, and I haven't seen that show, so I guess suddenly he's more on the upswing lately, but that's a TV show. It's a little different. He's not the only person working on, directing that show. But anyway.
Yeah. The Great and Powerful Dodd, $4.99, and he asked this before you talked about it. Will the Tetris movie count for Video Game Movie Mania?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Will the Tetris movie count for Video Game Movie Mania?
Yeah, we've only been doing theatrical stuff, but I think I might make an exception for this because I kind of want to do it. But then it means everybody's going to have to get Apple Plus to watch it with us.
Yeah, well, what is the difference between theatrical and straight to streaming these days?
At this point, there's not much of one. That's the thing. Is we weren't doing direct-to-video, but streaming is different than direct-to-video. Like, these things are basically, well, they'd love to release it in the theater, but they know it's not going to sell there, so they don't.
Well, some things would sell well, but they'd rather sell their streaming service better than theaters.
Yeah, that's true, too. No, you're right. Both of those things happen. Absolutely.
But yeah, you got to talk about that. Although, are you doing like, I guess there aren't many biopics, video game biopics, are there?
No, and I meant to mention this earlier. One thing, I don't know that there's any before now. I think this might be the first major one, but we were supposed to get a Console Wars movie based on that book, and I bought that book like, 8 or 9 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, and I think Seth Rogen was in talks to produce or that movie, or it was greenlit and then got canceled for some reason, because that book, when you buy it says soon to be a major motion picture, and it's never happened. So I can't believe the Tetris movie got made before the Console Wars movie.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think it counts. I think you could squeeze it in there. Apple's only like $5 a month. People can, or they can sign up for a free trial and just watch that movie and cancel. And watch Mythic Quest. Mythic Quest is great. I like the first 2 seasons. Season 3 of Mythic Quest, not that great in my opinion. All right, The Great and Powerful Dodd, $4.99. Hell has frozen over.
It feels like that happens every year now, especially with superhero movies. But go ahead.
He says Hell has frozen over.
Yeah.
Picard season 3 is good.
How do you know that? I don't think it's out yet, is it? I've been hearing critics saying it's good. That happened with season 2 also. I don't trust anything. And I saw those trailers, and I'm telling you, maybe it'll turn out to be better than the first 2 seasons, but that's easy. Watching this box of Kleenexes for 13 episodes would also be better than the first 2 seasons of Picard. That'd be really easy. Mike, and look, if it turns out it's great, fine. like, I don't want to watch it. I really don't. I'm very on the fence about whether or not I'm going to bother with it because my time has been wasted, my soul has been crushed, and my brain has been smashed into a million pieces watching that show. And fool me once, whatever. Fool me 3 times, I might as well stop watching television. Like, it's not. I don't know. It's just not worth it. But I'm not saying I won't out of morbid curiosity. So, I mean, if I watch that, I haven't decided if I'm going to. If I watch that first episode and I'm like, okay, there's something here, and I keep going, and it stays good, then I will come on camera and I'll say, okay, everybody was right about this. That's crazy. It was actually all right. Even if it's not great, because I don't think there's any chance it's great. But, like, yeah. I looked at the trailer for that, the more recent, longer one, and the writing all sounds as crap as it's been. Like, I'm sorry. The platitudes and the kind of, sappiness and the emotional manipulation and all of that, it seems like it's all firmly intact. And, like, trailers don't tell you anything, so maybe they put all of that in there to get the people that have watched that show before to watch it, but that's weird because there's only 30 of them. And so I don't know why they need to do that. It seems like they need to entice the rest of us. What I think might be going on is just the nostalgia tugging on your heartstrings thing that was not enough in the first 2 seasons to get people liking it because of just how dark and rough for no good reason it was, and how insulting it was, and how nobody seems to be acting in character. So if the entire original TNG cast comes back and they feel remotely like the characters that we grew up with, especially people that have been watching that show, by comparison, it might feel so much like actual Star Trek and like TNG, or at least like the TNG movies. They go, oh, it's good this time.
Well,
but I kind of think that everything I've hated about that show is still firmly intact. But I don't know. I've not seen it yet, of course. But I will be. There's another place I'm going to bet my car. I really don't think I'm going to like that if I bother with it.
I'll say this, and this won't mean anything to you because this isn't a YouTuber you follow. But I'm a big fan of Dan Murrell. He's the one who does all the box office weekly show that I watch. And I haven't watched his reviews, but his most viewed video on his entire channel is him ripping apart season 2, every single thing about how much he hates season 2 of Picard, and he talked a little bit about watching the first 3 episodes of season 3 and said it was, in his mind, almost a complete turnaround, and he was shocked. So that's all I'll say. I know that means nothing to you, but I was shocked to hear him say that because I know how much he hates Picard. But he could have different sensibilities than you, because who knows?
I'm just sick of the soul crushing, man. I really am. And there's also a part of me where my feelings are going to be almost just as hurt if it's good. Like, and I don't mean to be like, you can't win with me, but with this, you kind of can't, because it has not even felt like the same world. It's not Star Trek. It's not TNG. It's not a universe or a world that is optimistic and a utopia, and it never was. Like, the beginning of the first episode of Picard, I like that they were actually dealing with the idea that they used to have the typical Federation utopia, and it seems to be falling apart now. And that was interesting. And if they were going to use that as an excuse to do a more dystopian show, if they absolutely have to do that, at least I could buy that we're in the same world. But then you get to the very end of that, and one of our main characters, Raffi, is like living in a trailer next to Vasquez Rock, and it looks like it was Vasquez. They call it Vasquez Rock. It's preposterous. He just lives right next to Vasquez Rock.
I wish I could live in Vasquez Rock.
And I'm like, why are you poor in the 24th century? I don't understand. You have replicators. Everyone has plenty. What is happening? And it just gets more nuts and terrible from there. So, if they turn it around, wonderful and more power to them. But they've completely ruined any sort of internal logic or goodwill with me. It's going to be very difficult to forget about everything that they had before that. And like, spoilers for the end of that season. I don't think anybody's going to care, but you're trying to get me on board with a continuity that has made the Borg a member species of the Federation. And it's just like, I don't know if I can do it, man. Anyway, moving right along.
All right, TH1, $2 After Dark tonight.
By the way, yes, I did notice DJ's cup. I can't believe you still own that cup. That is like a 7-year-old cup.
This is commemorating
Look at that.
The return of the Flash. There he is in the back, right behind her. Yep, there he is. And then also Ben Affleck's on this cup.
You know what they should do? They should do a follow-up poster or with cups and things to that, and bring back Unite the Seven, but just have the duplicate Flashes both there.
Just 2 Flashes and a Ben Affleck?
Yeah. And a partridge in a pear tree. Yeah, precisely. Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and take a 3-minute break, and feel free to keep throwing questions in, super chats or otherwise. We'll keep going for another hour if there's enough to sustain the show. And if we don't get a lot of questions, I've still got some news things I can jump onto also if we need to. And thanks a lot for being here, guys. Hope you're having a good time. We certainly are, and we'll see you in just a little bit. Okay, folks, we're back. Sorry about the longer break. So, somebody was asking earlier, and I meant to bring this up at the beginning of the show, but I completely forgot to mention it. We are indeed doing Geekflution After Dark tonight. Austin and I and Brandon, at least Austin and I think Brandon's planning on coming over. We'll start at 10 Central, so it may be about an hour after this show. We got to wait for Austin to come on, and we'll be talking about stuff we don't usually talk about on this channel. It should be a lot of fun. It's all real haphazard and goofy usually, but we'll bring some interesting topics for you for that show. DJ, go ahead and throw some more questions at me, sir.
All right, so that one I had was from TH1, After Dark tonight, and they also said, most looking forward to trailer.
Of just like the movie I'm actually most looking forward to?
Of just the, I assume just the ones we're talking about tonight. Tetris.
I'm going to go with Tetris. Yeah. Most curious about Flash. Curious to see if somehow that is not like a complete train wreck, and I actually end up sort of enjoying it. And like I said, it is kind of nice that it's now the end of something and not the start of something.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. John Ty, $5. How much of the soap opera aspect of superhero stories do you like?
Well, you know what I'm going to say, DJ. It's a case by case sort of thing. It really depends.
Moving on.
No, I guess it depends on the sort of book it is and whether it's real up front that's the kind of thing it's doing, right? It's annoying when it encroaches on things that were a little bit less of a melodrama, or that didn't have, a crazy amount of characters, and suddenly we start shoving people in and it's just a different kind of thing. So, like, I don't like a lot of soap opera in my Batman, for instance, but X-Men, it's expected. Like, X-Men is a soap opera, and then Spider-Man's somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, little soap opera in Spider-Man, but you don't want too much of that. You don't want to go too many issues without Peter Parker getting in costume and web slinging. Meanwhile, X-Men could have a whole stretch, the whole arcs where nobody ever uses powers or throws a punch. That's fine. You know what I mean? It's X-Men. So it kind of just depends on what it is. And I don't mean to put things in a box. You could do a Batman story that was very soap opera driven, and it's clear from the beginning, and I'm fine with it. It's not like I can't have any romance in my Batman or whatever. But romance doesn't necessarily mean soap opera. That kind of thing. You just expect like a lot of subplots and different relationships and that kind of thing.
Secret twins that no one knew about. Wine getting thrown in your face.
Right, yeah.
Stuff like that.
People being buried alive and faking
people
their
getting
own deaths and being having this is a big one that we do a lot in superhero TV shows that feels very soap opera to me. Having an actor change that we explain by having a character surgically alter their face to look like a different person.
Yeah, plastic surgery can do wonders these days in superhero television.
See, this remains this show. I take 9 minutes to explain a thing, and then DJ just goes, plastic surgery.
Well, we have words for a reason. But some people like to use more.
Anyway, all right, moving right along.
Mutale. James Gunn loves Flash, so should be good, right?
It's hard to say. I mean, I got to take everything he's saying with a grain of salt right now. I've never seen I don't know, like an executive or director or anybody in his position or the position he's had in the past be as diplomatic and also as candid as he's being at like different points right now. So like he is not towing company line most of the time. He's saying things that are pissing off people at the company he works for. But, he and Saffron, things like Batgirl was like unreleasable and would have like ruined DC superhero movies. That sounds a little hyperbolic to me. It was going to be released on HBO Max, but they said stuff like that. And again, that was Saffron and not Gunn, I realize, but like he would talk about how the previous this pissed them off. Like the previous regime made a lot of mistakes, screwed some things up, and he didn't use real nice language. He's swearing up and down when he says all this. At the same time, he's saying, Flash is really great. I think he said it's effing great. I forget how exactly he put it, and that they don't know yet if they're gonna make a third Aquaman movie, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that'll happen, and I don't know how he really feels about Flash, but it was weird that he singled that out over any of the others. He didn't say the other movies were great.
He said Aquaman leads into the other movie.
Yeah, what exactly does that mean, right? And and that, like, it's not off the table that Ezra Miller could come back. I don't know about any of that, really. Like, some of that really feels like it's got to be we don't want people to think these movies don't matter anymore, and so maybe he does love Flash, but I don't know if I can take him at face value, because he's saying that with any of the stuff that is about to come out, I don't feel like I can necessarily 100% take him at face value. But maybe he really does love it.
Yeah, could be.
That also doesn't mean it's good. I mean, look, I have, because I get what people are saying when they bring this up, because a lot of people have brought this to me where that, well, if Gunn likes it, it's probably great. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I have talked to like comic writers that I think are spectacular writers that really understand what good storytelling looks like, what good compelling storytelling looks like, and have been baffled by some of their favorite things. Where it's like, but that's like you know how you construct a story, and that's not a good story. Why do you like that? So just because he's a good storyteller doesn't mean his taste is always of the stuff he's writing. Like, I've seen, and again, I'm not going to name any names. I've seen this with, like, there's one particular, like, major Marvel writer that like everybody here is familiar with, probably, that I had a conversation with once where I was like, I don't know how you can like this thing. So I don't, even if he does love it, I don't think it tells us anything necessarily. Yeah.
Next one from Utale, we have...
Sorry, can I read this real quick? DNA says,
like
Aquaman leaves into the other movies in the sense that the other movies come out at a later point in time than Aquaman. That's wonderful.
Well said, Gunn. Yeah, I saw that too. I almost read it, but I didn't know if you wanted to derail.
So Aquaman comes out, and then another movie comes out. Leads seamlessly right into the next. Connor says you'd be surprised by the taste of your favorite creatives. Exactly. And people have been baffled by things I like based on things I've said about other things. Like human beings are not consistent creatures in our interests and our likes and dislikes, and all you can do is work your way backwards. All you can do is watch a thing, go, I like that, or I didn't like that, and then basically my whole career has been, even if you don't realize it, has been nothing but psychoanalyzing myself. Right? When I'm reviewing things, that's all I'm doing. Is I look at a thing and I go, that works, or that doesn't work, I think, to my mind, in my opinion. And then I have to work backwards and figure out why. And you don't always even agree with yourself 10 years later. So yeah, it's just a big psychoanalysis project.
Yeah, and even if you don't like something and then you analyze it and you figure out it works, you still don't have to like it. It's just not your thing.
Yeah, exactly. You might appreciate it more. You might respect it more. And you might like it more.
Yeah, I just had this. I just watched Tar today, which I watched last week, which is one of the Best Picture nominees. And I really, really didn't like it the first time I watched it. And I watched it today, and I really liked it. It's weird. I had a complete turnaround. I gave it a 2 the first time, and I gave it 4 today. Very strange. I was not expecting that. Mutale asks us, new Hellboy reboot in the works. Cap, thoughts? This is true. I heard this.
I heard about this just before the show tonight. Again, thanks to Austin for sending me some news stories that I wasn't aware of these last few days. Yeah, boy, I can't bring myself to care. Like, I'm not a huge Hellboy fan in the first place, but like, it's so unfortunate that third Hellboy movie never got made, and then we get a not very good one that doesn't do very well at the box office, and now somebody else is doing yet another reboot. First of all, those movies never did a lot of guns, even when they were good. Why do we keep rebooting this franchise? Here's what needs to happen with Hellboy. Quit going to live action. We need to finally take the right cues from the Japanese with this and take good runs of comics and make our own animes. And I don't mean in an anime style, I mean just do it like anime does it, where you pretty faithfully, not that everything is faithful in Japan, I don't mean that, but a lot of it is, where you pretty faithfully just take the material from the comics and translate it to screen and make the changes that are natural to make with the medium. And I cannot stop saying this now that I finally, and it's been a few months now and I reviewed it, but now that I finally watched Invincible, we need that for every good run of comics that somebody can bankroll, and that's all we need for Hellboy. Just like knock off the live action movies and actually translate Mignola and make it feel like Mignola. And I've heard that the couple of animated movies they made are feel closer in tone to what he did. So why can't we just have that? I don't care about more Hellboy movies, and I didn't care about that last one anyway. And then I saw it. It's gonna be a chore to have to go to another one. Maybe it'll be great, but I don't think anyone's gonna care. That could be the best superhero movie you've ever made, you've ever seen. It will tank at the box office. Not enough people care about that character in live action.
I think it's from one of the directors of Crank.
That bodes well. That'll be great. That'll be great.
No, Connor, it's too late. Give it a rest. He said, just give me Guillermo del Toro's third Hellboy. No, he's making original projects. Let him do that. It's too late. Ron Perlman's way too old. Selma Blair can't do movies anymore. Just give it a rest, Connor. Put it to bed.
But you could cast as many of those voices as you could and recast the ones you need to, and then do it in animation. It wouldn't be exactly what you want, but at least you'd get an ending. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure I actually want that, but
I don't. I've moved on. I've had my piece with it.
Yeah,
his Hellboy 2 is great, and we're moving on.
I'm sorry. I'm going to tackle this super chat that just came in real quick to get out of the way because I know people are sick of me talking about Star Trek. He says, great and powerful Dodd. Thanks, man. 499. He says, Picard in season 3 isn't written by Kurtzman. The other two weren't written by Kurtzman either. I don't think. Maybe he wrote a script or two. Disclaimer, I haven't watched the whole season, but like DJ said, a lot of my favorite trusted YouTubers love it. How much of it is out? I hadn't even heard any of it. And they used to drop that week by week. Like, why is everybody talking about it like the whole is the whole season out? I don't know. I haven't been keeping track because I don't care because I hate that stuff, or I have. So I don't know. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm hearing really good things, but I don't trust that. And then there's also the part of me that, like, the very small part, because I don't trust that whole thing, that wants that to be good because the send-off that we got for the TNG crew with Nemesis back in 2002 was abysmal. And in some ways feels like a blueprint for Picard. But it's still somehow more watchable than that show. Which shouldn't be possible. Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks for tackling that one. We'll jump back to Checkers the Inventor.
Hi, Checkers.
199. Apparently Flash is testing really well.
Yeah. Well, like I don't know what that tells us beyond people are very excited to be reminded of things that they grew up with right now. And I guess really at any point, but we're milking that super hard right now. So I don't know. I like No Way Home better than a lot of people did, but or better than some of my friends did, but that is a sloppy story, and a lot of people did not notice because they were just excited to see the old Spider-Mans there. And a similar thing could be going on with Keaton with that movie, or it could be good. I don't know. It's not out yet.
Yeah, that's good. We'll have to wait and see. When does that come out?
Is it
June?
Is
it summer movie?
Is it May or June?
I didn't even know Ant-Man was coming out this week. I was shocked when I heard that. So
yeah, and we've got Shazam 2 next month.
Jeez.
Yeah, June 16th is Flash. There's about to be a ton of stuff to talk about, and I'm going to have to try to work it in somewhere. But in the end of next month, we've got John Wick 4, and Connor and I are going to try to review that.
Wow.
It tells you people liked it. Exactly. That's what it tells you.
Speaking of Mutale's next super chat is from him. Cap and DJ, would you guys rather have free will or a predetermined happy life? And is it better when superheroes have sidekicks or partners?
Yeah, always free will. Even if my life sucked more, I just don't like the idea that my life is planned out for me.
Yeah, I'm just for my own just for my own self, I guess. Like I have, there's people who from a fully scientific point of view believe that we do have predetermined.
Absolutely.
And that's fine.
But that's a good point, but I'm just saying if I get a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's true right now or not.
But don't, why do I have to think about it, Even if that is true, thinking about it doesn't help anything. Like all that does is lead to you like saying, well, nothing matters. That just leads to nihilism, right? Like, oh, it doesn't matter, so nothing I do matter. No, like if you believe that you have free will, at least you'll make the right decisions, I believe, for my own personal self. I think thinking of it in that frame of mind is just more healthy than thinking of it as I don't have any control.
To be freaked out by it. It's an interesting philosophical discussion.
Yeah.
The idea that as much control as you seem to have, not necessarily over the direction your life goes, but just that life seems to be a series of actions and consequences, but you don't know how much is predetermined by your chemical makeup or by your upbringing, all of that. Like, is it possible that every decision you make, or at least the big ones, are like there's no way around them? Obligatory, like you're gonna do those things because you were a product of, maybe all the movies that told us you always have a choice are exactly right, but then it does seem like you do, even if it's counterintuitive.
Yeah. Cool question. Followed up by another question.
Yeah. Sorry, I was about to go somewhere really dark with that, so we'll just move on, I guess. Go ahead.
It's hard not to, but it's a good. Maybe maybe after dark. That's an after dark topic.
Sure. Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is, let me say this. What I was gonna say is, if we like so much of the decisions human beings make are based in our need and want to survive, like the self-preservation instinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we are capable of suicide, and people do that. So, like, is that evidence that the choices you make are not inevitable, or is that in and of itself an inevitable choice?
Yeah,
but you seem to be going against at least your natural primal programming when you do that.
Yeah. But I guess the argument would be there's a lot of different programming going into you besides your primal genetics from your ancestors and stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting topic. But now let's switch over to sidekicks or partners. Which is better for superheroes?
Oh, for a second I thought that was somebody's screen name, and I was like, that's an interesting screen name.
Sidekicks or partners?
Typically partners, although it's somewhat of a semantic thing, because I think at least in theory, if we're talking about just superheroes, a lot of superheroes like to act like their sidekicks are partners, even if they're not really on equal footing.
Yeah. What would be a good example of partners? Like, what's a classic example of partners? Like, honest to God partners, not like team ups.
Yeah, you mean like ongoing?
Yeah, because I guess Iron Man and Luke Cage were partners for a while, but they're still like separate superheroes.
You mean Iron Fist? Yeah. Luke Cage and Iron Fist is a really good example. But
I'm thinking of like just what were partners. Like Robin didn't start. He started as a sidekick. Is everyone like they just started as partners and they weren't like their own superheroes, like a team up thing?
Yeah, because Bucky's more like a partner in the first place. Even the only ones I can think of are more like you said, long running team ups, like Green Lantern, Green Arrow, that kind of thing. The only other thing I can think of are the few like superhero power couples we've had. Like, and that also goes back to Green Arrow, like Oliver Queen and Dinah Lance. That would be much closer to a partnership than and not just in life, but also as superheroes. Like they go on patrols together, they work together. That would be Spider-Man and Black Cat sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Batman and Catwoman sometimes. But I can't think of any that aren't romantic right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Senior Six says Cap and Falcon. I guess in more like modern things.
That's true.
But initially, he's more of a sidekick kind of character. I guess, yeah, and more modern, like Tony Stark and Rhodey, but that's still earlier on more of a sidekick kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Connor says Apollo
Cloak and Dagger is perfect.
There it is.
Goofster.
See, that's what I wanted. Something that starts as a partnership. That's not two characters that come together.
But that's also a romance.
Yeah. But at least they started that way. Like kind of like Sky High, where like his dad and his mom are partners. They start like maybe there's history where they're separate superheroes and came together, but they're just partners. Like that's what they do. That's their job.
AMC says the Birds of Prey. Yeah, but that's yeah, I always think of that as a team, but it starts as just two characters. That's true. Where like Oracle and Black Canary are kind of more like partners. Like she sort of calls the shots, but it's a lot more that she just knows what's happening and can give directions. You know, this is before the days of GPS, so she's a lot more important. She's a lot more necessary in the early 2000s.
Now, Kando, Tor, and Connor have just evolved into naming basketball players, so I think we should move on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. No, that was a really great question, though.
Two great questions. Thanks, Matali. Let me see. OAW Entertainment, $5 super chat. Talk about weird biopics. Ben Affleck has directed a film about the creation of the Nike Air Jordan with Matt Damon, Marlon Wayans, and Viola Davis in it. I heard about this.
So my brain just exploded. But every facet of that, and it does seem like there could be a story there, and that sounds like an interesting project. But that group of names doesn't go together. Like nothing about that group of names. That's great. Wayans?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Obviously, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon go together, and he
no, of
he's
course.
directing.
Yeah,
it.
but I meant for the actors though. Ben Affleck's probably not in the movie. Maybe
he's
is he in it? Okay,
he's the head of Nike.
Does Ben Affleck ever direct a movie he's not in? Now that I'm thinking about that.
I don't know. I know he's in The Town. I think he was in Argo. He was in Argo, right?
You know, I've still never seen that, so I don't know. I probably should.
I've seen it once, but it's been a long time. But yeah, that could be cool. I mean, you like biopics.
I do.
Especially about like merchandise.
I like business biopics a lot. I mean,
biopics.
One of my favorite movies of all time now is The Founder. I can't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's Keaton's best performance, man. Even over Birdman, even like I love
so
him in
this
that.
could be one of your favorite movies.
Franchise.
And one of your favorite genres now could be Batman playing businessmen in business biopics.
If it's that good. I mean, there are things that I didn't care at all about the subject or wasn't, huge into the subject before I went and saw the thing that I just became enamored with. Like, I didn't grow up obsessed with the O.J. Simpson trial, but that's one of my favorite biopic type things. It's a miniseries now just because it was so well put together and because it introduced me to Sterling K. Brown.
So yes, he is in Argo, but people are saying he was not in Gone Baby Gone, which is his first directed film.
Well, and if he ends up directing a movie for DC, he might not be in that.
That's cool. I'm happy he's getting to direct something again. There was dark days for Ben Affleck for a while that people thought DC broke him, but I'm glad he's directing something.
Yeah.
He was also in that movie last year, The Last Duel. Mutale.
Well, and he did I don't remember if he directed it, but he did a movie about basketball a few years ago that I saw that was okay. And that seems to be something he's interested in. So it's not surprising that he went after that, the Nike project, because obviously there'll be a lot of basketball in that movie.
All right.
Franchise. Sorry, guys.
I got one here from John Ty, $5.
Persistence. Sorry, I just can't stop quoting The Founder.
How fundamental is it for superheroes? Sorry, Connor in the chat. The partnership we're all sleeping on is silver and black. It's a little late, Connor. We're done talking
I don't know
about
why
that.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, no, you're right. Black Cat,
But it
but
was good.
I had the wrong partner. That's true. Yeah, from
Yeah.
the beginning, it was Silver Sable, as we all know.
Silver and black.
Anyway.
Anyway, John Ty, sorry to interrupt. How fundamental is it for superheroes to have a stable romantic relationship in the genre?
Okay, I'm gonna say it again.
You're teeing them up, John Ty.
It's it depends.
It's like we're on Home Improvement, and like you're saying the slogan at the end of every episode.
There
or
are
whatever it's
certain
called, Tool Time.
There are certain superheroes that have such a solid foundation with a particular significant other that's been there since almost the dawn of time, or has been, and we don't change it that often. We can't stop going back to it. It's hard to imagine them without that character, and like, you know, a character that grounds them. So obviously Superman is like that with Lois Lane, but Batman doesn't need a significant other, and we have a hard time giving him anybody would buy for any amount of time, right? So it just depends on who we're talking about, certainly. But the idea that now, if the question is a little bit broader and more philosophical, where like, is it a good idea for basically every superhero, forgetting the ones that don't really count as superheroes, like Punisher or someone, but like, you know, a vigilante or somebody that puts on a costume and goes and saves people and is not that far over the line with the law, does it keep them like more grounded and not forgetting about their fellow man and not looking too far above people? Yeah, typically. That it's probably a good idea, but then also it's a double-edged sword, because they can also be your main liability, which is why I've always said that by and large it seems like the smartest thing for superheroes to do is to date other superheroes, or at least other people that have been through the kinds of things they have been, but maybe not necessarily work together. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as like cops and soldiers, and like you need to be with somebody that understands the life and how much of a priority you have to make that in order to do that job. Like, it's almost incompatible to have a spouse, but then if you do, you might not lose your humanity, so you should have one. But then can you give that person enough you know, affection and time and all of that? It's like massive double-edged sword.
Well, and here's an interesting topic that I would like to see explored that I've never seen explored. I'm sure it has been in comics. Comics are big, but
there's lots of them.
The question always is like that Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the movies, where it's like, it's not your, like, yes, you're trying to protect Gwen and you're doing it with the right intentions, but it's not necessarily all your decision. She can choose if she wants to live that kind of life to be with you, you know? It's
absolutely.
Always that conversation. But kids don't choose that.
That's how Amazing Spider-Man handles it.
Yeah.
With you know, that movie with Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But kids don't have a choice. So if you choose to do that, and then you have kids, they're stuck in it. And I'd like to see something explore that, because that would be.
It's an excellent point. The place where I feel like that's explored most in comics, at least, is Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
With the Richards kids.
But again, she never had a choice. They were already in space. They got the powers together. So it'd be interesting for
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean,
the love interest to make that choice and then come in and then, oh crap, we've kind of condemned our kids to be stuck with this life. Is that selfish? Who knows? I don't know. I think it's something interesting to explore.
You have things like Incredibles, but then the way they get around it is they're just part of a team, and luckily they have superpowers and are sort of durable too. Like. Yeah,
luckily the baby is invincible. He can do everything.
Like, the baby is the most powerful of us. You know why? Because we want to make sure that the audience doesn't think we're going to kill a baby.
Exactly.
Somebody made a really good point about the partners thing, and that's true. We didn't come up with this. Grim Death Griffin says, odd we didn't mention partners like the Wonder Twins, Hawk and Dove, Double Dragon.
Double Dragon, yes.
Hawk and Dove is a really good point, though.
Yeah.
The Wonder Twins feel like a pair of sidekicks.
It's partner sidekicks.
But they're sidekicks to the Justice League.
Yeah.
You know, like, they don't do a lot on that was supposed to get a movie. I think it makes sense that that's not happening.
I think we only have one more super chat, so I'll read this one.
All right, cool.
From, excuse me, two more. Senior Sticks, $2. Cap, are
Yes.
you becoming the Arthur Fleck?
I'm sorry, what? Am I becoming Arthur Fleck? Why are you asking that? What am I doing that's Fleck-like?
I don't know. I'm assuming he means Arthur. He wrote author. But,
no, right, but he's saying that I'm the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. What am I doing? That's like insane? Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
Have you lost your mind?
Is that are you saying over like Star Trek? Is like modern Star Trek turning me into Arthur Fleck? I hope not.
I don't know when he asked that, but
I'm not planning.
I like that there's no context because it's great.
I'm not planning on like going to the set of one of those shows and trying to murder someone, if that's what you mean. Yeah, that was a baffling question. The answer is no.
Are you becoming Arthur Fleck? That's great.
I'm not putting on clown makeup.
That should be. You know what just popped up in my recommended from a year ago? It was a year ago that you made this video. Am I going through a midlife crisis? I think your next one should be, am I undergoing a change into Arthur Fleck?
Am I becoming Arthur Fleck?
Am I becoming Arthur Fleck? Great video title.
I don't think as many people would watch that. Or maybe they would out of morbid curiosity. Like, oh man, this sounds juicy. What's he about to go do? Is Cap... Don't go on a talk show, Cap, if you're turning into Arthur Fleck. Don't do it.
He says in the regular chat, you started your psychoanalyzing yourself, Cap.
Oh. Yeah. But I did that well before Arthur Fleck was even a thing. All right, moving right along. Do you see any good pre-written questions, DJ?
Yes. I just have this one more short super chat, and I'll go back and pick a good pre-written for you. This is Ian Chandler, $2. What other classic games deserve a movie treatment? I'll scroll back up here.
Tons. So the big ones that always come to me start at Nintendo because it looks like they're probably going to open the floodgates pretty soon, especially considering how hugely popular the Mario movie is liable to be. There's been a lot of talk about a Zelda and maybe a Metroid, and I don't know if they'll do them all with the same studio and if they'll all be animated, but I think it would be smart to do mostly animation with that stuff. I think a live-action Metroid could be really cool, but I also think an animated Metroid could be great as well. But I think it'd be smart, whether you keep it all in Illumination or not, to try different things. And I can't believe that I'm looking at a reality, DJ, where staying at Illumination is not freaking me out like it was a year ago, where like with everything we've seen so far, the Mario movie looks great. And it may be that they've got their reins, tightened up enough on that studio that they can make a bunch more movies out of different properties with Illumination, and they won't be mean-spirited and gross and, horrible cookie-cutter stories. But anyway, so yeah, I agree with the Metroids. One thing I really want to see is Star Fox. I think a really cool, space epic, Starfighter kind of movie that's Star Warsy but not too Star Warsy, with anthropomorphic animals could be really cool. So yeah, that's definitely the very next thing that I would want to see. And I've always wanted a Virtua Fighter movie, but nobody cares about that.
Got a pre-written from Daniverse at the beginning of the show.
Oh, and also for Nintendo, Pilot Wings. I was talking about this with Jason the other day. I'd love to see a Pilot Wings movie. It's so out of left field. I don't think anybody would ever think to make that. But yeah, a movie about people jumping out of airplanes and driving gyrocopters. Why not?
Daniverse wants to know, when you write film analysis, do you feel like a chump if you don't go into sufficient detail why something does or doesn't work?
Yeah, and I really overdo it. Or I should say when I was writing, because lately I've not been writing my analysis, but I've been writing a lot of notes for those shows. So I mean, I call that Superhero Rewind unscripted now. It's kind of more partly scripted at this point, but I mean I do get off book quite a bit. But yeah, I tend to kind of over-explain myself.
Yeah, I guess we have to change the name to unedited, but that gives a different connotation entirely.
Yeah. We could have, I mean, I wasn't doing them live in the first place. I could have called it Superhero Rewind Live.
Yeah.
That's almost a better title, honestly. But I got the pillow now. I'd have to make you make a whole other logo with fewer letters.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't look good to do the Superman font anymore. It would probably just have to be like a live looking thing.
But yeah, the idea was always, literary story analysis of superhero movies, as silly as that is with some of them, because it somewhat started as a joke, and then years later, everybody and his dog started writing film analysis for and just video essays about everything under the sun, and we're all taking ourselves too seriously now. And so it's not, it feels kind of quaint going back and looking at, where I started with all of that. But like in the early days, even though I was thinking about it like story analysis, I hadn't, even after 4 years of college, or 5 years of college, I hadn't done enough of that yet to get as in depth and involved and really live with a thing like I would later. So it took several of those, partly just because I was stuck to 10-minute reviews for a while, but it took a lot of those before I really kind of found my footing with analysis versus review. And yeah, I would sometimes agonize over that, where it's like if I spent too much time explaining or delving into this one aspect of a thing, should I kind of find an angle and talk about one major aspect of this thing and kind of stick with that, or should I go at, every major thing in the movie, which is kind of more of my approach now. But you go back to, like when I first did one that was as long as 20 minutes, 20 minutes, Batman Begins, there are whole characters I don't even bring up in that review because there was kind of a premise, sort of a, mission statement or a thesis. And I used to make it kind of more about exploring a thesis, and I don't know. I still do that to some degree, but it's that, and then on top of it, and then here's everything that I think is working and isn't working with this thing on a story level more than anything.
Everybody's just talking about how I am just a figment of your imagination this whole time.
Alex Barron says a lot of video essays are flat out pretentious nonsense. Cap's analysis is always a breath of fresh air. What's funny is I started reading that because I thought you were saying the opposite, and I wanted to read it out loud because I thought it was funny and kind of interesting. Where I thought you said a lot of Cap's essays are flat out pretentious nonsense. And you know what I would have said, DJ? Are you gonna say it?
Agreed?
There it is.
Let me see. You want some more pre-writtens here? Well, Bob Garland just wrote this in the chat.
Hi.
Right now. DJ, serious question.
Real time.
When you have heroes who kill, like Wolverine and Deadpool, as Avengers, does it really make sense for heroes like Captain America or Daredevil to attack the Punisher for it?
Sorry, I'm sneezing. That was 2 in a row there. I got to the mute button just in time. Yeah, it ends up being a technicality kind of thing, right? Where you're going, well, there's a couple different ways that you can play it when you do that. First of all, it's stupid to ever make Deadpool an Avenger. And I used to complain about that, and then I realized that the one time I saw it happen, maybe it's happened since then, Marvel is batty these days from what I've seen, and I'm not reading anything current right now, but the one time I saw that happen, it turned out that it was like evil Hydra Cap that did it in the first place. But I think more people around him should have questioned that. I don't know, but I think if you got to do that kind of crazy thing, well, did he put Wolverine in there too?
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine's a weird case, right? Because like he's got a history of killing people that he thinks deserve it, but then I think sometimes if he's with certain teams, he'll kind of mellow out. And honestly, that it kind of just boils down to this character is popular and we want him in every book possible, and we'll sell more Avengers if he's there. So we got to just come up with kind of a throwaway explanation to put him there. So like I don't want to overthink this. That's really the main reason that happens when it does. But like there's maybe a difference between we got Deadpool to agree to work on our terms. So even though he's killed people before, and yes, he should probably be in a prison, and it's kind of weird that we're working with him like he's a regular superhero, at least we've got him, if we think we do, you know, under our thumb, and he's going to do things our way, versus the Punisher, who is uncontrollable and wouldn't join an Avengers team. So, like, if the Punisher joined an Avengers team, it would be preposterous if they allowed him to continue operating the way he does. But if he is playing by their rules, it's still weird, but I guess it makes a little bit more sense. So to say, like, we're being hypocritical by not by not wanting to let Punisher do what he's doing, but letting other people who kill on our teams, it's only that way if they're allowed to kill on those teams, and I don't think that's usually how it works.
Mm-hmm. Got one here, if you're ready, from
Absolutely.
Jareth Gearhart. Hey, Cap and DJ.
Yeah, no, that was exhausting. That took a lot out of me, DJ. I'm gonna need a minute. There's too much sneezing.
All right, well, you get your sneezes out while I read this. He says, hey, Cap and DJ.
Yeah.
Do you have a time where someone didn't know something about pop culture? For me, and I guess that was like really shocking to us. For him, it was
I see. Yeah,
when
yes. I meet people all the time that don't know things about pop culture.
He says for him, it was when a family member thought the 90s Mummy was the original, or just was an original film.
Oh.
Yeah, I have these a lot, but I try not to give people crap, because for every time I have one with someone else has one with me. I mean, it's all what you know.
Absolutely. Sometimes I'm a little, like, certainly I try not to be judgmental, and I try not to, you know, laugh at people. Like, I've not had your experiences, so I can't know why you know what you know and don't know what you don't know. And it's a little bit silly to come down on a person for not knowing a thing. Like, you can't really help that unless what people are, you know, giving you crap about, making fun of you about, is that you aren't paying attention to things that they think you should, and then that's maybe not fair. You gotta let everybody, you know, be interested in what they're interested in. So I don't know. I don't give people crap or look down on people that don't know, like, basic stuff about Star Trek, because, like, people that have never watched it, you know, sure. But then, like, if somehow you'd never heard of, you know, like, Captain Kirk or the Enterprise, I would think you were under a rock. That doesn't seem possible. So that's not like I'm giving you crap. That's just how, you know. I've had this before with some things like that. Like I brought this up before. I watch a retro game channel on YouTube called SNES Drunk, and I really like his reviews, and he has a hilarious review, DJ, of the Power Rangers games on Super Nintendo, where he just goes through all the Power Rangers games, and that's one of the things he does on his channel, where sometimes he'll pick a series and he'll just briefly review each of them. And he didn't grow up with Power Rangers. He's older than me. I think he's 40, 41, and he grew, so, like, I would have kind of missed that a little bit for his age group, but the stuff he didn't know, being the age he is, was baffling to me. Like, he mistakenly called the Megazord Alpha 5, and I cannot help but laugh at that. I think that's really funny. Like, you've never seen the show, sure. Who doesn't know what a Megazord is that's 40 years old, was into any pop culture at all?
That actually kind of makes sense.
Kind of hard to believe that.
If you don't know anything about Power Rangers, there's 5 Zords that come together to make
I think
the Megazord,
that's why he thought
and it's
that.
Alpha. Yeah, Alpha 5 makes perfect sense to call it that.
But he also reviewed the Megazord fighter and was clearly not paying attention to the names of all of them, because they're all Megazords.
Yeah.
But yeah, so stuff like that sometimes I'm confused by and just find it interesting. And yeah, it's kind of funny, but, like, you know, I'm not giving that guy crap for not knowing a thing. Like, oh, you're stupid, you should know that. It's, how do you not know that?
Yeah, that's mostly what it is. Like, what weird different path did you take in life? Like, I had that with my wife a lot, where we just...
And he called Zeo Zeo, and that was kind of funny.
Go Zeo.
But anyway.
Yeah. I wish I could think of a good one right now, but yeah, I definitely have that quite a bit.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. That's not a person I know. That's the thing I saw in a YouTube video, but...
You probably have 1,000 of them for Brandon.
Well, that's a whole other thing. Yeah,
Connor.
yes. Well, for Brandon, very often it's stuff that I'm surprised he doesn't know about, things he's into.
Yeah. Connor in the chat says, I once convinced a coworker that the past was black and white.
He's told me that story. That's amazing. Okay, we've got about 8 minutes left in the program. If you see any other questions, we can knock those out, or I can go to another news story real quick. Otherwise, I'll try to tackle those sometime next week.
AMC Comics just came through, and put some more through if you have some, guys. Captain DJ, would you consider calling the Talkville hotline? It'd be awesome for our community to hear you call in. Just putting that out there.
I have. They just haven't used my my recordings. That's not a live show. They pre-record those, and you have to get your messages in weeks or months in advance, it seems like, because I think the first time I did it, I probably called in for an episode they'd shot already, because they'll shoot like 2 in a day, and so sometimes they're farther ahead than you'd think they are, and they don't tell you where they are anywhere, so you kind of have to. So my strategy, if I call again, is I'm going to call in for an episode in like season 3 or 4, probably.
Yeah, just like shoot for ahead, and hopefully they'll read through them and like save that one.
Yeah, I called in about Zero, and I called in about Rogue, and I didn't get in for either of those, but I have tried.
That's awesome.
Now, I'm not caught up on that show. I haven't finished season 1 yet, and they're already 5 or 6 episodes into the second season, but I will catch up. I've just been listening to other things lately.
Yeah, they're flying. I feel like they need to slow down a little bit.
Well, they're doing them once a week. I mean, do you think they should just take a big break or something? Like,
no,
I think they might have taken a break between first and second season, actually, but I'm not sure.
I guess that makes sense. Just do one a week, but I guess because I'm not listening every week, it feels like they're going really fast.
Yeah, well, and the issue is just we're getting older, and time seems to be blowing by a lot faster. Like,
we got a super chat from DNA, $5.
Hi.
Do you think the average person has a true grasp on what Batman's all about? Or have recent iterations warped GA perception like with Supes and Spidey?
General audience is probably
Probably.
What his acronym is there. Boy, that's a really interesting question. Yeah. I think... So... For both Batman and Spider-Man, the basic morality or worldview, ideology, whatever you want to call it, is pretty clear with a very simple sentence that we get, in the first few issues of those comics going all the way back, that most people still seem to be kind of aware of. So even if you feel like general audiences or even the people making Spider-Man stuff now don't really get who Peter Parker is, it's still at least in a general, superficial way, power and responsibility. Even if it's not done well, that's still like thrown about and talked about and in there, even if it's not great, right? And I think with Batman, vengeance versus justice, guy who sees his parents killed and then doesn't want that to happen to any other kid, that's always in there, even if it feels like we're missing a lot of the other things about that character. So I think to some degree this is happening with Batman in the same way it is with Spider-Man, and I think just like with Spider-Man, I want to blame comics first, and then TV shows and movies adapting from stuff that is missing the boat because comics seem worried that we're spinning our wheels too much, so they have to start fundamentally changing characters in order to find new ground. I think is really the big problem that we're having. So with Batman, he can't be an urban legend anymore because it's the 21st century and the technology is too good. And so in order to be a detective now, he's got to be a brilliant inventor on almost a Tony Stark level and have like all of this technology at his disposal and nothing can hurt him, and that's part of, but not the only problem with the whole I'm Batman thing. And interestingly, now that I'm talking this out, DJ, I feel like Batman and Spider-Man kind of have similar problems, which is they're just too damn powerful in various ways. We're like, with Peter Parker, he's got to be like a 30-something scientist now. And yeah, we've gone back in various things to something closer to older status quo. But for like 10 years, it was like he owns his own like science company, and we're just getting kind of too far away from what Spider-Man always was. And that kind of thing really only works if you allow the story to end at some point. But yeah, so I think to some degree, you do have that problem where we understand the basic idea, but the character gets lost in the shuffle somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And also with Batman has maybe there are similar problems. I was gonna say Batman has a different problem than Spider-Man because his supporting cast, the Bat family, has taken over too much. In my mind, over the last decade and a half, and we tell a lot of Batman stories without Batman. Sometimes we don't even seem interested in the character versus the world. Spider-Man has that problem too. It's just not about the Spider family of like other characters around Spider-Man. It's other Spider-Mans now. So it is kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of telling a couple weeks ago, DJ, when somebody asked, like, what is your favorite Spider-Verse story? And I got really confused. Do you remember that?
I think so.
Where it's like, for some people now, Spider-Verse and Spider-Man are like synonymous. Where it's like, by Spider-Verse, we just mean any story that takes place within Spider-Man's universe. Boy, I don't like that. Like,
yeah, it's weird. I was watching. I just don't like where Spider-Man is right now. I was listening to a bunch of superhero animated intros for our video that we're doing next week. And there's like so many Spider-Man shows after Ultimate Spider-Man that are all like team up, multiverse, like spin, like all this stuff. Like my son came home and was like telling me about Spin and all these Spider-Men that I didn't even know. I'm like, what are you talking about, 4-year-old son? What did Grandma let you watch?
So that is Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which Mikey is obsessed with. And Spin is not a new character. Spin is just Miles Morales, because you can't have a kid show with a superhero that just has a regular person's name, or like two Spider-Mans would confuse a 4-year-old. So they had to get, and like, I kind of get that. Like, Miles Morales is popular enough, they felt the need to, if they're going to do a Spider-Man team-up show, he's there with Peter Parker and with Spider-Gwen. Well, Spider-Gwen was renamed in comics, so you already had Ghost Spider. So they were in the clear there, they just call her Ghost Spider. But what do you do with Miles Morales? We're just going to have two Spider-Man and Spider-Man? So they named him Spin. That's where that came from.
Yeah. But anyway, my point was that Spider-Man is just like the team-up multiverse crazy superhero now, and I don't like that. It's weird.
No, I agree. I also think that's weird.
So it's going to be weird raising a kid with that as the status quo.
I know. Yep. Well, folks, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We're right at 2 hours, but thanks a lot for watching. DNA, when everyone is Spider-Man, nobody is. Yes, precisely. We're going to hypothetically be back next Thursday night for another Captain Logan show while I'm on the road, but I don't know for sure yet if that's going to happen, so I'll let you guys know when we get closer to time. I got to play it by ear. I'm going to be going to Nebraska. I got to take Jason to a basketball game, and tomorrow night, once again, video game movie mania with Mario. So 10 o'clock tomorrow night if you're interested in that. Tonight, in about an hour, we're going to be doing, so take some time, have a late snack, and come on back and hang out with me and Austin and Brandon for another Geekvolution After Dark. Patreon.com/Geekvolution is how you get access to that if you're not already a patron. Just the $2 tier lets you do that. We try to put those out as close to twice a month as possible, but at least once a month. And so, yeah, we'll be doing that tonight. And then next Tuesday, DJ and I will still be broadcasting. So come back. It just won't be a Captain Logan show. And we're going to be counting down, as DJ just alluded to, our favorite 10 superhero animated themes, which is going to be a lot of fun. I really want to play them, and I don't know if I'm going to take the risk and do that, because we might get flagged and blocked if we do. But we're going to talk about them nevertheless. DJ, I loved doing that podcast with you about our favorite scores, but it drove me nuts not being able to play music. I hated that.
Yeah, it's really hard not to start humming them when you can't play them, and nobody wants that.
Well, especially for stuff that, because like you know, I do this more than you, and I know a lot more superhero movies, and there were stuff that you just haven't seen that I had to tell you about, like Danger Diabolic and stuff, where I was like, this sucks. If I could just play him score.
Yeah, yeah. I've done my homework for this one a little bit more. I've actually like tried to listen to everything I could. It's hard to find stuff that's not Marvel and DC though. Let me know, guys. Hit me up if you know. Give me all the stuff that's not Marvel and DC or Ninja Turtles because it's hard to dig up that stuff on internet lists.
Well, and I'm approaching this differently than you are because there's too much stuff that is just like, you know, in my lexicon already. I'm part of my chemical makeup, so it was like I'm not gonna feel the need to do any research with this because there's too much stuff I already just love already. That it would be weird to bump any of it off with stuff I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I don't have that for this. I listen to scores regularly, but I don't think I would ever listen to like this kind of music. Just
yeah, and I'm
itself.
not approaching this the same way as we did with scores, because of course it's a theme. It's about setting up a show and making you want to watch it. And I also because I was talking about this with Jason the other day, and I was like, I don't know how much we should separate like just a song from the intro itself. And for me, there like is no separation. They're like just married. So like we're gonna talk about it more about music than not. I think my list would be exactly the same and in the same order if we took visuals into account. I think it's all correlated together for me.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've just been thinking about the music of it, but yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're approaching this a little bit differently. But that's cool. Anyway, so we're doing that next Tuesday. Anyway, thanks again for being here, guys, and we'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan, and this was DJ Martinez.
Bye, everybody.
And hope to see some of you guys later tonight. Bye, everybody. Okay, so we did a show.
That we did. Very weird show.
It was kind of awkward, but we did it.
Sorry, I was sorry if the rhythm was off. I kept getting distracted by arguments happening in the chat.
No, I know. That's why I said it was awkward.
There was a lot of not pertaining to what we were talking about, and I kept getting distracted in it, and then I would come back and not know what we were talking about. Sorry about that.
Well, I'm sorry about that too. that you had to deal with that, but no, I wasn't annoyed about the rhythm or anything. I found it kind of hard to focus myself.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I mean, we've never ever policed the chat at all, like except for it's like a robot coming in. I didn't know. I almost got to a point where I wanted to jump in and be like, hey guys, can we just focus on the show? But I know that's